A war against physics. Indianapolis, 1959. The hallowed ground of American speed, where heroes are made and legends crash in flames. But this year, something different rolled into Gasoline Alley. A machine that defied every rule. A man who didn't come to play by the book. He came to burn the book. His name? Smokey Yunick. The wildest mind to ever hold a wrench. A war veteran, a mechanic, a genius, and a rebel who believed physics itself could be beaten with pure American ingenuity. What he built would send shockwaves through racing, a car so unorthodox it seemed possessed. The Reverse Torque Special. This is the story of the outlaw engineer who tried to bend reality and almost succeeded. The Kingdom of Speed. 1950s Indianapolis wasn't just a racetrack, it was a monarchy. Each May, America's mechanical elite gathered like royalty. The garages smelled of oil, polish, and prestige. At the top sat A.J. Watson, the master builder of the famous Watson Roadsters. Sleek, stable, rear-engine cars that ruled the brickyard. To compete at Indy was to enter a world of suits, cigars, and tradition. Everything had its place. Everything followed the rules. The rule book was sacred. You didn't challenge it, you obeyed it. Then came Smokey Yunick, and Smokey didn't kneel before kings. He was the mechanic from Daytona Beach, Florida. A man with calloused hands, a head full of ideas, and zero respect for authority. The Outsider. Born in 1923 in Pennsylvania, Henry, or Smokey Yunick, was a fighter long before he was an engineer. In his teens, he fixed tractors by day and raced motorcycles by night. When World War II came, Smokey became a B-17 Flying Fortress flight engineer, keeping bombers alive in the sky while bullets tore through their wings. That experience changed him. When you're fixing an engine at 20,000 feet with your life on the line, you don't wait for permission. You improvise or you die. After the war, Smokey landed in Daytona Beach, Florida, the beating heart of early NASCAR. He opened a shop with a name that summed him up perfectly. The best damn garage in town. And it was. Inside those greasy walls, Smokey turned ordinary cars into unbeatable monsters. Part engineer, part outlaw, part magician. Smokey versus NASCAR. Smokey Yunick became a legend and a nightmare in NASCAR. He didn't just win, he outsmarted everyone. When his 1955 Pontiac overheated at Darlington, Smokey didn't give up. He hid a water tank under the driver's seat, secretly cooling the engine mid-race. Officials never found it. Then came the infamous 11-foot fuel line trick. NASCAR limited tank size, so Smokey used the fuel line itself to store extra gas. When caught, officials demanded he remove it. Smokey unscrewed the fuel line, threw it over his shoulder, and said, "Make sure you count the tank. It's legal." Then he drove off. He played the game like chess, and NASCAR hated him for it. To Smokey, the rule book wasn't law. It was a list of suggestions. The dream of Indy. But Smokey wanted more. He wanted the Indianapolis 500, the crown jewel of American motorsport. In 1958, he showed up with the Hurst Shifter Special, a hybrid of NASCAR muscle and Indy precision. The car was fast, shockingly fast, until a tiny gearbox failure ended his run. To Smokey, that wasn't failure. That was unfinished business. He went home furious and obsessed. For the next year, he studied the physics of racing like a mad scientist. While others perfected engines, Smokey questioned the laws of motion themselves. Then one night in his garage, surrounded by cigarette smoke and chalkboard sketches, he whispered a thought that would change racing forever. What if every engine we've ever built spins the wrong way? The reverse torque theory. Here's the genius. Every Indy car turns left, hundreds of laps, always left. A normal engine spins clockwise. That spin creates gyroscopic torque, which pushes the car's weight to the right, lifting the inside tires. That's lost grip, lost speed, lost control. Smokey thought, if I reverse the engine's rotation, make it spin counterclockwise, then the torque pushes into the turn, pressing those inside tires harder onto the asphalt. More grip, more cornering power, more speed. It was engineering heresy. But Smokey wasn't after approval. He was after perfection. He designed a car that flipped the mechanical world upside down. Building the impossible. Smokey modified everything, the crankshaft, the gearbox, the differential, even the oil pump, to make them all run backwards. Every nut and bolt was a battle against convention. He called it the reverse torque special. The car was compact, sleek, and raw. Under the skin, it was a weapon, a scientific rebellion. But when Smokey arrived at Indy in 1959, the establishment erupted. The officials thought it was unsafe. Rivals whispered that he'd found a loophole in the laws of physics. Tech inspectors tore the car apart looking for tricks. Smokey just leaned back, cigar in his mouth, and said, "If it ain't written, it ain't cheatin'." He passed inspection, barely, and the reverse torque special took to the track. The race that never was. During testing, the car worked. Drivers reported sharper cornering, better grip, more stability in left-hand turns. Smokey's mad idea actually worked. But the innovation came at a cost. The reversed internals created massive stress on the engine's components. Bearings wore unevenly, gear teeth chipped, oil flow struggled to adapt. Smokey tried fix after fix, but time was running out. Before race day, mechanical gremlins ended the dream. The reverse torque special never saw the checkered flag, but Smokey's legend grew. He had built a machine so smart, so ahead of its time, that people refused to believe it was possible. The aftermath. The establishment at Indy sighed of relief. To them, Smokey was dangerous, not because he broke rules, but because he made them look stupid. But in the decades that followed, his ideas started to echo through racing. Modern race cars now use counter-rotating components to balance torque. Aerodynamic asymmetry compensates for the same forces Smokey identified. Even Formula One teams use reverse spin design principles in hybrids and MGU systems. Smokey's rebellion became the blueprint for the future. The man behind the myth. Outside the racetrack, Smokey was just as wild. He wrote technical papers, fought with officials, and ran his garage like a lab crossed with a bar fight. He was charming and stubborn. The kind of guy who would help a kid fix his car, then call a NASA engineer an idiot in the same hour. He hated bureaucracy, loved whiskey, and believed truth came from a wrench, not a boardroom. When he died in 2001, racing lost more than a mechanic. It lost a rebel philosopher, a man who proved that the line between genius and insanity is drawn in oil and smoke. The fire still burns. Smokey Yunick never won the Indianapolis 500, but maybe, just maybe, he didn't need to. He proved that victory isn't always a trophy. Sometimes it's a legacy, the spark that lights the next rebel's fire. So the next time you hear an engine roar, remember, behind every champion is a rule breaker who dared to ask, what if everyone else is wrong? If stories like this fuel your soul, if you love the rebels, the dreamers, and the madmen who changed history one wrench turn at a time, then hit that subscribe button, smash the bell, and join our pit crew. Because here, we don't just tell car stories, we ignite legends.